Hello bookish friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be the time for the October wrap-up. I read 11 books in October, but only 6 of them were actual physical books. But I thought we were going to get through them together nonetheless, and I give you my ratings. Yeah, I think this is what the wrap-ups are for. Just a quick speed through of what I thought of each book and what I rated them in the end. And the very first book that I read this month was Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. I was so suspicious of this book. I almost didn't want to start it because I have had some massive bad luck with books that were recommended by BookTok or recommended by TikTok. I've had some terrible luck with those. Oh my god, a little bird flew against the window. Oh, poor guy. I hope he's fine. He came back and sat on the windowsill, and maybe it's because I have a lot of plants and they were in the window. Oh. Now I feel terrible. But he flew away, so I think he's fine. He was a little blue tits. I love that name. It's a very different name in Germany. I completely lost track of what I was going to say. Wait. Okay, so BookTok books. I have had some massive bad luck with BookTok books, and I didn't dare to pick this up until I was actually in the mood to read something that could be a TikTok book. How do I best explain it? Sometimes I just want to read a book that's not the most complicated world, that's not the most condensed fantasy world with lots of politics and social commentary. Sometimes I just don't want to read that, so I waited until I was in the mood for something like that, and I picked this up, and it did not disappoint. This was 4.5 stars. I genuinely loved this. It is a ginormous book. It has over 600 pages, and I think there was no need for it to be this long. It could have been easy 200 pages shorter, especially because I got a little bit bored in between. But the general story and the characters, I was surprised that they didn't piss me off. The writing was great. The story was great. I was just really feeling it for some reason. I was really feeling this. I really enjoyed this. So I gave it 4.5 stars. And I found the monster aspect of this really interesting. And especially the end, I thought was amazing. The end had me hooked. I was not able to put this book down. Oh, the bird is back. I think I'm going to buy some bird food and put it on the windowsill. It's gotten really cold here, and drastically cold. Like the temperature dropped enormously. And I feel like the poor birds don't have any food. So I will buy some. Sorry for getting sidetracked again. But yeah, this was really great. I'm really excited for the second one. I didn't expect this to be so good, but it was. So if you're in the mood for just a fun fantasy romance with good writing and a good plot, I would totally pick this up. I mean, obviously it's not the best story ever, but I was thoroughly entertained and everything in this was so much fun. So can't recommend it enough on that front. Then next, I actually listened to 2 audiobooks. If you've seen my reading wrap up from last month, I am currently in the middle of all the Bridgerton books. And I'm listening to them on audio. And I listened to Penelope's story and Eloise's story. And I don't think I can say much about them. Just that I really enjoyed both of them. I have to admit I don't remember a whole bunch because my memory is trash. But I remember especially really liking Eloise's story, which is weird for me because I really don't like single dad stories. That is why a lot of the Elsie Silver books fell flat for me. I'm just not a fan of kids in books. Surprisingly, I really enjoyed this story with these kids. I really liked their dynamic. I loved Eloise get to know the twins, and I just liked her as a character. I really, really enjoyed that book. And then Penelope's story, I also really enjoyed. But It's not my favorite. Yeah, I don't think it's my favorite. I did love the entire Lady Whistledown thing and the revelation to the readers and then the revelation to Colin. I thought that was really interesting, and how everything panned out was also really great. So I did enjoy those books and I will continue the series. I don't remember what I rated them, probably like a 3.5 star. That's typically where romance books sit for me that I enjoyed. It's rare that I give a romance book a high rating, which is sad, but I'm just a fantasy reader. So I don't know, something about typical romances sometimes bores me. I do want to read a few more romances and like see if I can get into them. After that, in my reading vlog, you will have seen me read 3 books, which were A Soul to Touch by Opal Rain, which is a monster romance. Then we have The Night Hunt by Alexandra Christo, which was a YA story. And then we have The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling, which was a sapphic vampire love story. And all of these I really enjoyed. I gave my ratings in the reading vlog. I'm bad at remembering ratings. I'm so sorry. I'm pretty sure I rated this one like 4.5 stars. The Night Hunt, I rated 4 stars. And The Coldest Touch, I think I also rated 4 stars. Now let's talk a little bit more about them in detail. As I said, A Soul to Touch is a monster romance. This all takes place in like a post-apocalyptic world where demons overran the world. And in this book, our main character is Mayumi, and she's a demon slayer, and she like trained her whole life to slay demons. He is called Kitty in the beginning of the book, and he's like this protective guy, and something happened when Mayumi was a child which made him really protective of her, and he saved her life. And Mayumi remembered that. And so when they meet again, like a few years later when she's grown up, he is still kind of checking on her sometimes. And she sees him. And instead of killing him like a demon slayer should technically do, she is still really thankful that he saved her life. And she kind of wants to get to know him and find out what was the reason for him saving her life. This one was really amazing. It is very, very spicy. Incredibly so. So if that's not up your street, and if you don't like monster romance, I would not recommend you pick this up. But if you like monster romance, and especially like if you've liked the first one in the series, the second one wasn't so great, I have to say. I really didn't enjoy the second one so much, but the third one was great again. So I'm going to be buying the fourth one and see where that sits. I have heard some people say that the fourth and fifth are their favorite out of all of them. So I'm really excited. What lays ahead in my monster romance journey? I've really gotten to like monster romance books. I just think they're so fun, and surprisingly, these are incredibly well written. They have great character development. The plot isn't the main part of these books, so to say, but it's still really thought out, and the world building is really cool as well. Like, I love the world that Opal Rain has built. Yeah, but it's just not for everyone. Then I read The Night Hunt, which I said I rated as 4 stars. I really enjoyed this, but it did take a long time to get into. I feel like I was a little bored in the beginning parts, especially. But it really picked up after, I would say, the halfway point. Maybe it's just a me thing, but I just wasn't invested in the characters so much yet, and the heist that they were kind of doing wasn't... Is it called a heist? Not really. I'm not sure. English isn't my mother language, so excuse me if I sometimes mix up words or say words that are nonsensical. She was cursed, and they go on a journey to find a cure for her curse, and they like find some more people that they can take with them, and then it's like a found family type of thing, which that I really, really enjoyed. It was just the first half when we didn't have so many characters that the story felt really slow and the characters didn't really click. But after that, it got really, really great, and the ending was amazing. I really enjoyed the ending and how everything wrapped up. This is a standalone fantasy, and that's why I love it so much, that you can read this and you can finish it and be done with it. And I really enjoyed that. I think I need to read some more standalone books because that's kind of rare. And I've been in so many series, in the middle of so many series. I think I'm in the middle, actively in the middle of over 50 series. So reading a standalone was a great experience. If you like reading YA books, this was really interesting. As I said, the found family in this was really great. It just did take a while to get going. Then we have The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling, which I also read in the reading vlog, and I also rated it 4 stars. I did not expect to love this as much as I did, because I didn't buy this book. I got it gifted when I ordered a special edition secondhand, and the seller put this one in. It is also signed by the author, but I hate this cover. I'm so sorry, but I hate this cover. And it was just not calling to me, and I really didn't want to get started on reading this because the cover wasn't interesting to me. But then I picked it in my October TBR jar, picks my TBR for the month, and I felt like I had to read it, or else I would never read it. It's like a sapphic paranormal romance, which was really, really cool. So there's vampires in there. One of our FMCs is cursed, and every time she touches someone, she experiences how they die. It was really, really cool. It is a story where Elise kind of discovers that she may be interested in girls as well. So if you don't like that, that would not be a book for you. I know that some people prefer to read sapphic books where both of the main characters already know what they're into and what they like. I just didn't mind it in this one. It just meant that the romance was picking up really slow. They had to develop a friendship first and some trust, and there's still a lot of mistrust going on in this book. But I think it was really interesting, and it was actually my first sapphic book ever. I own quite a few of them, but I just haven't gotten around to really pick up any of them. So I'm really excited that I read this and that I rated it so high. And I'm excited for all the other sapphic books that I have on my TBR. Then I listened to some more audiobooks, meaning I listened to all 3 of the audiobooks to City of Thorns, which is City of Thorns, Lord of Embers, and Garden of Serpents by C.N. Crawford, I believe. And boy, did I not enjoy those books. The first one was kind of okay. It was also very spicy, but not insanely spicy, not like Salt to Touch, but it was still really spicy. But I felt like everything was underdeveloped. The world made no sense. The characters were just actually actively annoying me the whole time I was listening. I did rate it, I think, a 3 star for the first one because it was enjoyable in the first one as like a kind of guilty pleasure read that was interesting. But it all went downhill from that, and I felt like we went back and forth so many times. It annoyed me so much. There were so many betrayals where there was no need for, like, what the story concluded with in the end, in the 3rd book, was something I could have told you after the 1st book, that was how it was going to end. And it was just their insane stubbornness and inability to talk to each other and actually communicate feelings. Yeah, and like, as I said, the world building was all over the place. It made almost no sense. And in the end, I really didn't like any of the characters that we had. I didn't like any of them. And that kind of made me not like the books at all. I think I rated the last 2 stars, like, because I did finish them. But I'm glad that it's over. And it's actually putting me off of reading any C.N. Crawford books, which is sad because I feel like she has another really famous series. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. But I'm kind of scared now to pick any more of C.N. Crawford's books up because, as I said, I really didn't enjoy them. I'm glad it's over. And if you have read the other series or any of her other books and think they are much better, please let me know, and then maybe I'll pick those up. But I just really didn't enjoy the City of Thorns series. I really didn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if there's any of you who like them. I I did not enjoy them. They weren't even fun to read. Like sometimes with Book Talk recommended books, at least they're fun. Like maybe the first one was, but it was so annoying. And the spicy scenes made little to no sense to me. Like the whole story, I feel like, was laid out just so we could have spicy scenes. But there's like succubi and incubi in the story. And so their whole thing is like feeding on lust or something. And there was just so many unnecessary spicy scenes. And I didn't like, I, there were actually, there wasn't many spicy scenes, but and they just didn't do it for me. I just didn't enjoy the spicy scenes. So the whole thing of the book kind of already fell flat for me, and maybe that's why I didn't like them so much. Anyways, on to better news. I read Daughter of No Worlds, and Daughter of No Worlds was a great book. I rated this 4.75 stars purely because I didn't quite have the 5-star feeling. As many of you guys also say, 5 stars is a feeling, and I just didn't have that feeling with this book. But it was insanely good. It did take me a long while to read this though, because I was so scared of what the characters were having to go through in the future. And I'm still really scared. But this was amazing. This is like the story of a former slave turned magician. She flees to another country and she wants to learn magic so she can take revenge on the people who made her a slave in the past and also save the people that she had to leave behind. And there's a lot of political intrigue in this going on too. There's the orders which are teaching her how to do magic. And you can kind of feel that they have their own agenda. And maybe they're not the most benevolent order. But we don't really get to see much in this book. I'm hoping that there will be more in the second book. Alas, I cannot pick up the second book because I have only the first books in the indie published version. And the second book in Germany, I think, is coming out in May. And the second book in the republished English version, I think, is only coming out at the start of next year, I think. So there's no way that I can finish the series or continue the series before next year. And that is fine. But also, I really want to know how it continues. Because we did end on quite a cliffhanger, like a little bit. And I just really enjoyed this. I love these characters so much. Max and Tisana have such a great romance because they had a friendship first. And their whole romance is so tender and sweet. And I'm loving it. It is such a breath of fresh air from the enemies to lovers. This is like a dislike to friends to lovers situation. And I'm loving it. It is so different and I loved it so much. So I can't wait what Carissa Broadbent has in store for us for the next book. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this one. But isn't this cover just the most gorgeous thing ever? And the sprayed edges as well. This is like a German special edition and I love it so much. I did read the indie published version and I did read it in English because I'm just kind of growing to like reading in English better than reading in German, which is quite weird for me because obviously German is my mother language. But I want to improve my English, and I already think that filming these videos and having to speak so much English and having to think about what I say so much has already improved my English speaking skills so much. That is just fascinating. I mean, it is time for the final book for this month, and that was Blood Over Brighthaven. And oh boy, was this a 5-star, which is great because that means this is our only 5-star read for the month of October. But this was incredible. This was one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life, and I don't know how to go on with my life after this. This is a story of Sayona. She is the first female mage ever to be admitted in the High Magistracy. But nothing is really as she would have hoped it to be. Her colleagues suck. They're misogynistic and treat her like crap, and also treat other people like crap. And she, instead of an actual qualified assistant, as kind of like a joke, she gets assigned this janitor guy, and he's a Quen, which are the people who live outside, and they're supposed to be savages and stupid. And there's a lot of commentary on racism and classism and sexism and morality. She discovers a conspiracy which changes everything. It changes everything in her mind. It changes the way she sees the world. It changes the way she sees magic. This kind of follows her and her janitor assistant Tomil's stories, and how they kind of intertwine, and how they change the city forever, and how they change the world forever. Or at least try to change the world. And even though she's a woman and she's still very underprivileged in her society, she kind of fails to realize how she has all of these prejudices towards the Quen people. And it's really interesting to see how that changes over time, like the more she works with this janitor. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but this was like a very high fantasy, I think, in a sense that the magic system, I thought, was really complicated. It took me a while to understand how the magic system worked and how the spellographs work that they use. There's like this illustration. There's this illustration in the front that kind of shows how the spellograph looks that they use to make magic. But it was still really hard, I think, to wrap my head around it. But maybe that's just due to the fact that I have a tiny brain and sometimes I am dumb. But I enjoyed this so much. This altered my brain chemistry. This changed the way I look at things in life. And how rare is it to come across a book that actually changes your life and changes the way you think about things. There was one part in this book where they discuss morality, and it has stuck in my brain for like a week now, and I can't stop to think about it. And I think that's what makes a good book. Like, if you can't stop thinking about it, and if it changes your life and changes the way you view. And it was just amazing. I don't know what else to say. This was amazing. And if you've thought of picking this up and you were intimidated by it, which I certainly was, please don't let yourself be held back. If you sometimes enjoy higher fantasy books, totally pick this up. There is like a teeny tiny romance subplot that is not at all one of the main parts of the story. It is just, how can you change the world for the better? And can you even change the world for the better? Or is everything you try destined to fail? I think it's a wonderful book, and I will have to see if there's like a special edition of Blood Over Brighthaven that I can acquire. Because I feel like when I read a 5-star book, I want a ton of special edition books, because I rarely give 5 stars. If you've seen my wrap up from last month, you may not think so, because last month I had 3 5 stars. Typically, there's at most 5 5-star books in a year in it for me, and I read about 100 books. So do with that what you will. I think that wraps up our October wrap up. And yeah, thank you so much for sitting down and joining me while I ramble on. So that is an insane reading month, and I'm so glad that it was this good. Oh my god, I'm stuck. So that was an insane reading month, and I'm so glad. It was just the audiobooks that kind of let me down a little bit. The audiobooks, as I said, weren't so great, but that is fine, I guess. But I think that is it for today's video. I don't know if any of you guys actually enjoy watching monthly wrap-up videos, but I enjoy making them, so I guess you're kind of stuck with me doing them. I think they're fun, and it's just really nice to look back on the reading month and see what everything was. So thank you so much for watching if you stayed till the end. That is it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!